For this step of practice, we're going to be working with Impressionist style brushstrokes using oil paint. Impressionist style works great with oil paint because oil paint is such a thick medium that it works really easily to create these thicker application of paint and really layering the colors and the texture. In the first box, choose any color of paint to begin working with. So I have a dark green here that I'm using. Apply this all the way across using a thicker application of paint, so we're not thinning it out with any sort of medium, and then choose a second color to layer on top. The purpose of this is to get used to the feel and texture of the oil paint and to begin practicing how to layer your colors and using this Impressionist style where you have this thicker application of paint and you're able to see the colors start to mix together. So try choosing two colors that are going to be analogous colors or blend really well together. In the second box, we're going to be doing a gradient, which is blending and fading colors together. So I'm using a red into an orange and then a yellow. So what I'm using in between is actually just the yellow mixed with the same red color to give me that orange. And I'm actually just mixing the colors directly onto the paper here, so I'm not even mixing the yellow and red together first on my palette. However, that is an option if you'd like to do that. The benefit of the oil paint is that it blends so easily together that you can really just layer and mix your colors directly onto your canvas, especially with this Impressionist style brushstroke. In the next section, we're going to practice creating movement with our brush strokes, so following a specific direction, and we're going to be using a couple of different values of one color. So I am going to mix my colors here first, so I'm creating a light blue that I'm going to use on the top, and then I'm fading down to a darker blue color as I go towards the bottom. So I'm just mixing a blue with a white here, and you'll notice that you do need a good amount of white to really lighten that color with the oil paint. So make sure that you do use a good amount of white and a little bit of your color first. So I'm starting out with this lighter value, and I'm even adding some white just directly onto that top layer to really lighten the top coat of paint. As I'm doing this, I'm following the direction of this wavy line to show movement with my brush strokes. So that's a great thing about Impressionism is you can really emphasize movement and form by showing specific directions of your brush stroke to create that movement. Next, I'm using or creating a darker blue. So I'm using the blue first and mixing it with the complementary color, which is orange. So I grabbed red and yellow, which together make orange, and I'm mixing that with my blue to make a dark blue. Your other option is to mix a little bit of black with the blue. I do, however, prefer mixing the complementary color to darken it because sometimes if you're using black, it can kind of muddy the color. But as I'm working here, you can see that dark blue is blending nicely into the medium tones and then into the highlight. This is something that you'll definitely want to show on your final project is this fade from lighter values into medium tones and darker values, which is really going to show this full Impressionist style as they really emphasized highlights and you need shadows to make those highlights stand out. Moving on to this last section, we're going to practice applying some of these Impressionist strokes to painting of an eye to start to see different colors and values come together. So I'm starting out with some red, mixing it with green, which is the complementary color, to desaturate and darken it to pretty much create my black or darker shadows. So I'm starting there with the darker tones because I'm going to layer the lighter values and mix those around them. And I'm using a few of just the main colors. So I'm using yellows, reds, oranges, and whites mixed together to create some of these skin tones. And you'll notice that I am just blending directly onto the canvas. So there's areas where you just see the yellow, just see the red, and then I'll throw some of the white into it to lighten those areas, throw a little bit of that darker value that I mixed with the red and green to darken some of the colors. But the nice thing with this Impressionist brushstroke is to show the colors, show the texture, and then when you take a step back, it's going to all blend and come together nicely. So really layer on the application of paint nice and thick, and then continue to try to build your layers as you go. So look at areas where there are different colors that you can bring together and try just mixing a few colors on your palette and then mixing those together directly onto the paper as well to see the different styles, how it works, what you like and don't like about both of those mixing styles. Make sure that you do add white to the white of the eyes here. I'm even adding a little bit of color into it as well because they are not completely white. And then starting to bring and layer some of the details in. So you can see the eyelashes added. Definitely use a small brush for those. You could even use a mixing medium for the eyelashes, as that's going to help to start to really smooth out the layers with the eyelashes instead of it being too thick. And as you can see, I am using the smaller brush, so really creating smaller details as my top layer. And then as I pan a up close detail shot of this, you can really see the texture, the layers, and the color throughout. So go through this worksheet making sure that you really are using a thick application of paint, blending your colors, and trying to bring in highlights and shadows throughout the entire composition.